Hello, and welcome back to the Hot Action Podcast. We are trying something new this week. We are trying to do a live stream on YouTube, and hopefully it works. I'm trying to figure out whether what I'm doing right now is actually a live stream or not. Oh, my goodness. Did we lose? What's happening? Oh. Did we lose our window? Now it's back. There we go. Alright. It's a little fussier than I imagined. That's fine. But yeah, here we go. We are live streaming, hopefully. Alright. With that in mind, let's go over what happened last week and preview what's going to happen this week. So we'll start by talking about the first games of the week. We had Browns-Texans. Unexpectedly for me, the Browns absolutely shellacked the Texans, or the Texans absolutely shellacked the Browns. The Flack Magic run had to come to an end sometime. I believed with my whole heart. But yeah, it didn't work out. Didn't work out for the Browns. And in especially funny fashion, later, in our results, we need to mention that one Baker Mayfield, who was tossed aside like used goods. Well, he made it through. He made it through with a roster that I think most people would argue is a lot less talented than the Browns roster. And the guy that the Browns picked up to play quarterback to replace Baker, he wasn't on the field. He'd been injured, Some people might call this karma. I don't know what I'd call it, other than hilarious. See you later, Browns. Godspeed. Hope y'all figure it out in the offseason. Then, we had Dolphins-Chiefs in the evening. Saturday evening. I expected this game to be a lot closer, but I think I expected the Dolphins to have a running attack in the cold that might keep them in the game. I did, however, pick the Chiefs to win, and they got the job done. I believe this game went under, which makes sense given the cold. But yeah, the Dolphins, once again, with a good team, winning team, they fall on their face. It's quite sad to see, but yeah, they could not make it happen, sadly. Yeah, with all that in mind, we go on to the thumbnail game. We go on to Packers-Cowboys. An absolutely hilarious result. I should have known. I've said many times this year that sometimes you just have to bet on the funniest outcome. Well, I made a mistake by not doing that this week. I thought the Cowboys had pulled it all together. I thought the Cowboys had, finished the year fairly strong, looking good, but I didn't remember how cursed they were in the playoffs. I didn't remember that they were just an absolute sad sack franchise when it comes to postseason. And, of course, the Packers would come in with I guess Jordan Love isn't a rookie QB, but it's his first year starting. So let's call him a first-year QB. First-year QB comes in to Jerry World and absolutely scorches them. There was no point at which the Cowboys looked like they might win. They went down 2 scores very quickly. And, from a gambler's perspective who had bet Cowboys -7, there was never any hope that they were going to cover the game. Like, none at all. Just a hilarious outcome. The thing I kept thinking when I was watching the game is just love wins. Love wins. All right, moving on. Then we have the evening game for Sunday night. We had Lions and Rams. Now, this was actually a really good game. The Lions ended up winning by 1 point, 24-23. I had the Rams +3, so that ended up being correct for me. And honestly, watching this game, I watched with my good friend who's a Rams fan, and I do think that the referees might have blown a couple calls in there. I don't like to say this. I am not a fan of the Rams. But I do think that there was maybe a little bit of, home cooking for the Detroit fans there. That being said, Detroit move on. Rams get sat down. And, another team figuring it out in the offseason. Again, mad respect to McVay pulling this season together with so many rookies and free agents and all that. That was one of the things I was the wrongest about this year, was that I thought the Rams were going to be terrible, and they turned out to be pretty darn good. That easily could have gone the other way, and the Rams would be making it to the next round instead. And now we've got the Monday games. The Steelers-Bills got moved, of course, because of weather. There was too much snow, so they had to postpone the game till Monday. That game ended 31-17, and this is one that I am certain had bad refereeing. I took the Steelers +10, and, I really, there's a hit to the head of one of the Steelers DBs that got no call. George Pickens getting absolutely, pulled apart before any sort of catch can happen. Just PI. And then another thing is, I think maybe this isn't a big deal, but to me it looked like Josh Allen was, taking advantage of the slide rule. And, it's very upsetting to see. I mean, he's a great athlete, and, when you got him one-on-one against the safety, he can just kind of shift his shoulders and, the guy has to accommodate for a large man coming fast. And ultimately, the Bills were the better team. They took care of business, but I really hope that they will not be allowing Josh Allen to just run wild going forward. But who knows? Anything could happen. And then finally, sorry, Eagles Nation. This was a disastrous result for the Birds. The vibes are horrible. What's going to happen with Nick Sirianni? Our guy, Mr. Kelsey, has announced his retirement. It's tough. Buccaneers 32, Eagles 9. Not many games do you allow safety. Eagles did that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch this game, but the result is very bad. It was what I predicted, but I did not predict that it would be by a double-digit score margin. I was thinking this game would be pretty tight. But yeah, unfortunate result for the Eagles fans. They fell apart at the absolute wrong time. Very difficult to accept this. This is going to be a long off season. So that is that for the weekly recap. Now we'll move on to previewing what's going to happen next week and predicting. On Saturday, we've got both 1 seeds playing. We got both 1 seeds playing. Ooh. And the lines are pretty large. The lines indicate that Vegas thinks there's going to be blowouts. Ooh. Back, fixing this. Okay, here we go. So, firstly, we've got Houston at Baltimore. I thought Houston played very well last week. They played very valiantly against a defense that has historically been quite good this year. I do think Baltimore will win the game, but that is a large spread for a playoff game, especially with the over-under being only 43.5. I will be taking the Texans with the points, and I will be taking the over. I think that over-under is seems really low to me, considering what both these teams can do on offense. I think Houston nearly hit that over on their own last week against a really good defense. So I'll be taking the over, and I'll be taking Houston plus 9.5. Seems pretty easy to me. And then, the same spread, another outdoor game. Both these games are outdoors. You've got Green Bay at the 49ers, supposedly the most lopsided matchups of the weekend. You got another 9.5 point spread, 50.5 for the over-under. I'll be taking the points again. I think Green Bay looked ferocious against the Cowboys. Oh, what's going on here? Did something just change? Maybe the lines changed. Wow. Okay. So, we had a 9.5 point spread. I'll be taking the 9.5 on Green Bay. And I will also be taking the over again. This is a 50.5 over-under. Actually, I'll be taking the under on 50.5. That seems pretty high. Now we move on to the Sunday games. We have Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the Detroit Lions. Again, the spread is quite large. The Lions only defeated... this time I will be taking Detroit. I think the Buccaneers' pass defense is kind of holy. They might, Jared Goff might be able to pick them apart. I'll be taking Detroit minus 6.5. But because this game is indoors, both these teams can kind of throw the ball a bit. Both these teams can move the ball. I'll be taking the over of 48.5. I think, that was my thinking with the Rams-Lions game, but I don't know why, but I think it's going to be different this time. And now you've got Sunday Night Football, Kansas City Chiefs versus Buffalo Bills. This is the replay of the crazy walk-off touchdown game where they changed the overtime rules. This is kind of a grudge match. Win this and you go to the AFC Conference Championship. Both these teams have, incredibly high offensive upside, great pedigree. And Kansas City is in the unusual space of being on the road and an underdog in the playoffs. Kansas City, with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, has never played a playoff game under such conditions. So I will be taking the points. I'm taking the points a lot this week. The only time I'm not is in the Detroit Tampa matchup. So I'll be taking KC, and I will be taking the over again. I think both these teams, like despite the game being outdoors, I think both these teams have shown they can, move the ball in the elements. Last week, I'll be taking the over. It's a lot of over for me this week, and a lot of points. So I think that's everything for me this week. Hopefully all of this went live, and hopefully the recording is good. All right, that's all for me this week. Let me know what's going on in the comments, like and subscribe, all that jazz. Appreciate y'all. Talk to you next week.